Hi, everybody. My name is Angie Vishyanan, and I am the founder of Leg Up Legal. We provide a mentoring program that connects pre-law students to lawyers for mentoring, and we started doing these Zoom meetups to allow you to meet some other prospective law students and current law students and lawyers and get to know each other a little bit and learn about some topics that might help you during these challenging times. So today I have Stephanie Wecky with me, and she is the founder of the company Blatamy. So they create content for Black millennials to help them become successful professionals. And she's also a 2L at the University of Houston School of Law. So I will let her take it away.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I know everyone's cameras are off, but don't feel afraid to put them back on if you want to stay engaged. So I guess I'll explain how everything's going to go. So I'm going to spend maybe the first 10 minutes sort of walking through a presentation I created just to show more technically how to use LinkedIn. And then afterwards, I'll spend another 10 minutes talking more conceptually about how to use LinkedIn. And then afterwards, Angie and I will continue to have a conversation about it, ask questions, and answer your questions. So we'll share personal experiences with using LinkedIn, but if at any moment you have a question, please feel free to ask it in the chat, and just stay engaged. And we hope that you learn a lot from here. So is there any questions before we get started? All right. I'm going to share my screen and let's see, start the presentation. All right, well, let me see how to, okay, it was working before. So this is the presentation. So first I want to walk you guys through a couple examples of summaries that you would see from law students and lawyers. And most people keep it short and sweet, especially if they're in law school. Other people tell a story, and some lawyers just sort of list out all of their practices and the things that they're involved in. And there's no one right way to do a summary. This is from my classmate Adriana. She's a really great person, and I encourage you guys to connect with her. So here she just says, you know, she's a rising 3L, what she's involved in, where she goes to school, and what she's interested in. And then afterwards she says, you know, where she's working. And it's pretty simple as that. You don't have to put a lot of detailed information. The same can be said for Armani. He goes to Harvard and he just says he's a second-year student and he's interested in racial, educational, and economic equity through the law. So I just want to show you guys these things to give you an idea of what summaries look like. This is from Alex Sue, and I would encourage you all to connect with him on LinkedIn. He shares really, really great content for law schools, law students, and lawyers. And I kind of feel like he's my uncle who's a lawyer that I've never had. So, and I've never met him, but he's really great. So here he shares a little story about him. You know, he says kind of where he came from and how he's evolved as a lawyer and what he does now. And I think the summaries are really great because they just give someone who's looking at your profile a quick recap of a quick picture of who you are. And I'd be happy to share this presentation with you guys afterwards. So if there's anything that you miss, don't worry if you didn't get it down. And this is a quick template for what your summary could look like. You just introduce yourself, whether you're in law school yet or you're a prospective law student, what year you're in, what you're involved in, what you maybe did before law school, what your interests are, where your passions lie, and you could also decide to tell a story. So those are some of the elements you want to have in your summary. And
yeah, actually, I wanted to comment on that. This is a great template, and you know, I like the examples that you showed because I think it shows the differences between the ones that are more engaging and the ones that are, you know, shorter. So I think, you know, it's a really great idea to share like more of your story. So I like in the template that you have, you know, questions about what are you passionate about and who are you? Because I think if you really want people to engage with you and connect with you on LinkedIn, you really have to share more of the personal side. It shouldn't just be a resume, right?
Yeah.
It should really be more showing that you're a human being that people want to connect with. So.
Exactly. And something else I forgot to mention was that Vladimir has actually created a free course on how to use LinkedIn. So we walk you through step by step, everything from creating your profile to making posts. So I didn't want to go into all of that stuff because so many of those resources are readily available. And that course, you can find it on YouTube if you just search Blademy. So that's a shameless plug, but it really is helpful for you all to look at.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat box for everybody.
So next, I'm going to talk about 6 creative ways to use LinkedIn, specifically in terms of the posts that you can make. So the first way to use LinkedIn is to create. So you want to share something that you created and why someone would find it valuable. Here I gave an example of my friend Adriana. She wrote an article on LinkedIn about, what it's like to be in online school right now and what she's learning and how she's managing working from home because she did that in college. And this is really awesome because it's something that she came up with and she's sharing it with her network. So when I say create, it could be anything from a podcast you're on, a podcast you created, something you designed. It's up to you. There's nothing specific per se that I would say don't do this or do that. So the first thing you can use is to create. And then the second post you can make is something that is anticipating something. So here Armani talked, he posted a picture and he said, I just finished my summer internship and I'm really looking forward to doing more of the work that I already did during my internship. And when you share something that you're anticipating, you're sharing why you're looking forward to it. It could be a new project you've been on, a new position, or maybe a new trend in the legal industry that you've really been watching or that you wonder how things will turn out. The third thing you can post on LinkedIn is a reflection piece. So here Alex Su talked about what he was told in law school versus what he's realized now years after he's been out of law school or removed from law school, and sort of how that's helped him in his own practice and in his own interactions with lawyers. And then he invites other people to talk about their own stories in law school and post-law school. So reflections can be anything from the past. It could be pretty recently, or it could be a long time ago. There's no category for what the past should be. Just share what you've learned from it, why it's meaningful, or how it's helped you on your journey. The fourth type of post you can make on LinkedIn is something that is showing appreciation. So this is really great for if you go to an event, a webinar, a mentor, a special experience, anything. You just want to state what that was and why you're grateful for it or how it's helped you. And you can always post a link, a picture, a video, a boomerang. I've done a boomerang before. So there's no, like I said, I really want you guys to understand that there's no one way to post on LinkedIn or one right way to post on LinkedIn. The fifth thing you can do is to celebrate. You can share an accomplishment, a new opportunity, something you're proud of, a new position, or maybe even celebrating your school, your classmates, something that is meaningful to you, something that makes your heart glad. And it's more than just, I would officially like to announce that I'm doing this and this and this. It's saying, hey, look at this new thing that I'm about to step into. This is why it's important to me. And, just sharing that. And you don't have to necessarily be bashful about it, but you also don't need to be arrogant. So it's just a fine balance of sharing an accomplishment. And the sixth thing you can do is to engage. And so I really like these posts because these posts are you sharing something insightful that you've learned, something that you read that really resonated with you, some conference you went to, and you share what that specific piece and you reflect on it and you ask and you invite other people to give their own thoughts or maybe ask a question and learn more from your community to spark that conversation. So like I said before, so it's create. The 6 creative ways you can use LinkedIn are to 1, create, 2, anticipate, 3, reflect, 4, appreciate, 5, celebrate, and 6, engage. And these are just quick verbs to sort of help you remember, like, okay, what do I want to do with this post right now? Do I want to engage? Do I want to get feedback on something? Do I want to celebrate something? Do I want to appreciate someone? Do I want to reflect or share something that I created? And those are sort of technical ways to think through how you want to post on LinkedIn. And if you noticed, there were a lot of the same elements in all of these different posts, right? They used hashtags. You can use hashtag law school, hashtag law student. They tagged other people, maybe people to give feedback on or people that inspired them. They gave a call to action in terms of asking a question or asking people to share their own stories. They used pictures, media, articles, videos, to make it more engaging and easier on the eye. But ultimately, all of these posts told a story about that person. It told a story about, where their head is at, what they're thinking, how they're engaging with the world around them. And I think that's the most important thing, that over time, all of your posts tell a story. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this.
Actually, I wanted to mention a few things about these elements of posts. So for hashtags on LinkedIn, if you search a hashtag in the search box, you can see how many people are following that hashtag. So you can also find other content that has that hashtag, which might show you other hashtags that you can use in order to drive your engagement. And so the hashtags will often attract people to your content. So you might want to look for related hashtags. Now, LinkedIn's algorithm has changed recently. So if you use more than 3 hashtags, it drives down your engagement. So make sure you use your hashtags wisely. Also, tagging others is a great idea because it gets them to be pulled into your post. So when you do that, comments are gold on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn works a little bit differently than all the other social media platforms. And comments will get you more views than almost anything else on LinkedIn, even sharing. So if somebody shares your content, you might get a few more eyes. If you have people commenting in the comment section, you're going to get a lot more eyes. So tag people in the comments so that they will be attracted to add a comment. And then once they add comments, reply back and thank them for a comment, because LinkedIn's algorithm currently does not check to see if it's you commenting or if it's other people. It just checks the number of comments and then it'll promote your post based on that. So if you're driving the engagement back and forth by, commenting on the comments, it will drive up your views as well. Also, for pictures and media, I dropped some links in the chat box of graphics that you can use for your posts. Any post with an image gets 94% more views than just text posts, which is insane. So, so I think it's really important to share some sort of image. Now, not all people are creating their own images. You can use royalty-free images from Unsplash. So the post that you showed earlier from Adriana, that had an image from Unsplash. You can use, you don't have to just use your own pictures. Like these stock photos that you can find on Unsplash, you can use, but be really careful that it is royalty free and that it doesn't violate any copyright laws. Unsplash is a great royalty-free website where you can find those images. You can also use canva.com to create graphics for your social media posts, and it'll make it look a lot more engaging. So I would totally, use all of those strategies to get your content seen and engage with other people. The point is not to have a one-way, blast of content into the internet and just leave it there. You really want to be engaging other people on LinkedIn. So if you're seeing that people aren't engaging your content, start trying to play around with these different elements to try to drive that engagement. And yeah, if you post insights that are helpful for other people, as long as you're delivering value to people, it's more likely to get your content seen.
I completely agree. That was really, really helpful, Angie. I feel like I would be taking so many notes right now. So did you have anything else to add before I stopped sharing my screen?
I don't think so. You can go ahead.
Awesome.
Did you want to talk to them about the post that they can make after this?
Yes.
Okay,
So Andy did a really great job, and she actually created a template for you guys to post on LinkedIn. So whether this is your first time creating a post on LinkedIn or you sort of had a LinkedIn but you didn't know what to do with it, she's created a really great option for you all to just insert the template, write your name, say something insightful, share something insightful you learned from this webinar, and maybe tag people, use hashtags, add in a media, a picture from Unsplash like she mentioned, and that's
or
a
you
way
can also
to
use
make
the graphic
it.
that I just dropped here. I created a graphic for this presentation, so you can use that graphic. Feel free.
Yeah, so she did a really great job with that, and feel free to use that template, make it your own, and that's a way for you to get started. It's pretty simple. It's as simple as that. Does
Yeah,
anyone
I
have
mean,
any
I
questions?
know a lot of my students, they're always like, I just don't know what to post, I can't even get started. And I feel like once I start, how do I keep it going? And so what are your tips there for them, Stephanie, on how do you keep, you know, the momentum up once you start posting?
Well, for one, I would say you don't need to feel pressure to like stay relevant in terms of like posting all the time. You sort of just post organically. So if you have other social media that you use, you usually post whenever you're doing something or like when you're reflecting something, right? Like it's a way for you to just share with the world. So I sort of had that same mindset towards LinkedIn. So if there is an event that I went to, or if there's something that I'm thinking about, like gratitude, everything with COVID-19, like what sort of conversations am I having with friends? Is there a way that I can take a piece of that and just share that with my LinkedIn community? So that's the way I think about it. I don't, if I alienate LinkedIn to be like, okay, there's this thing and I have to fit into this box of being a law student and being very like robotic, then I'm always going to feel sort of like paralyzed, to be able to, I'll feel too paralyzed to do anything. And so my biggest advice is to think about LinkedIn organically, like your other social media, and think about in terms of you sharing, the things that are on your mind, what you're doing, and that's sort of how you stay consistent per se.
Yeah. So you can also, try to, when you engage with other people on LinkedIn and you all start seeing each other's content over and over again, you can kind of create groups of people that will engage with you. So you can join engagement groups or create your own engagement groups and put users in there so that you can all, check to see like what are you posting, what are your, friends posting, and then help drive the engagement on their posts. So those are all some, tips and tricks that people use to drive up their views. Um, but I think that the other thing is you can just have like some very manageable goals. Start off just trying to do one action a day on LinkedIn. Whether it's posting something of your own or just sharing somebody else's content or commenting on somebody else's comment or just following a new hashtag. Like just, make it manageable for yourself. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to create a content calendar or anything like that. You're not a business. So I think it's just more manageable if you try to just think of taking like one action a day, and it can just be any one of those things. If you don't have anything original in your brain that day, I totally have those days. And so then I look for content that my friends are posting that I think is valuable, and I share that content. So it's all about just driving value, and thinking about what other people in your situation might be interested in. So what might other law students be interested in? What are other people who are applying to law school, what are they interested in? And you know adding a question at the end of your post and then saying please comment below with your answers really helps drive that engagement. So if you're just wondering like, hey, are you guys deferring your admission right now? What are people doing? Ask those questions and see what people say. And you can start following different thought leaders in that area too. So when you're on LinkedIn, go and follow other, people who are applying to law school, go and follow lawyers, go and follow law firms that you might be interested in working with in the future, those types of things. And then that'll allow you to just start seeing what content is out there and, digesting like, okay, what are other people posting? How can I post something like that? So it doesn't always have to be your own, original thought. I know sometimes that puts people on the spot. So
Yeah,
you can always share other people's content too.
I completely agree. And I sort of, aside from, thinking about LinkedIn in terms of the posts you can make, I also think about LinkedIn and I think three distinct ways. One is to literally connect with people. One way is to build an online persona. And then the other way is really to learn. And so when you're talking about literally connecting, LinkedIn is a wonderful way to network horizontally, right? With your peers, with your classmates, with people from your school, and with the legal professionals in your local community. And so it's great to reach out to local attorneys, ask them to grab coffee, or maybe now for a call, video chat, or for a phone call, and learn those information. Because whenever you graduate from law school, your network is not going to be, it's not ethereal, like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to have a lot of clients or people out there. Your network is the people that you literally graduate from school with, the people that you knew in college, like the people that are around you right then and there. And so it's really important for you to sort of stay connected with them. And when I say networking, I'm not talking about networking in terms of getting a job or in terms of someone just handing you a business card. Networking is really about building relationships, and it's about maintaining those relationships, following up, staying in touch, asking them questions, like seeing how they're doing, seeing where they're at in their practice or with law school. And over time, those things are built organically. And then it's maybe in spontaneous moments where you might get a job or someone knew someone that like that's the way those things happen. But networking is really about building relationships, because relationships last much longer than a LinkedIn profile may last, or much longer than you'll be in law school. So
I love the way that you put that you categorize LinkedIn for, three good reasons: networking, learning, and what was the other thing? Engaging?
building an online persona, yeah.
Building an online persona. Okay. Yeah, no, that is totally important. I think everybody who's going to be going to law school and students who are already in law school, you already need to start thinking of how you're going to build your personal brand, right? Who are you projecting yourself to be on the internet? When you start looking at all these prestigious lawyers and you wonder, well, how did they get all that prestige? Well, they had to build it one step at a time, just like you're going to have to build it. They had times when they had no credibility, right? And they had to go out there and write articles and find ways to share them and create content and find ways to share them and connect with other people, build those relationships, build up their network. So you should start thinking about that even now. If you're applying to law school or if you're in law school, you should start building those connections and forging those connections and creating content, sharing that content, and starting to think about, what message do you want to communicate about yourself as a professional?
I agree. Like, I sort of think of your online persona as like the sum total of everything that you share and also everything that people understand you to be, right? Because when people look you up, what's happening now is that your LinkedIn profile is actually the first thing that shows up, whether it's clients, employers, judges, schools, whoever that may be. And I think that in the future, the very near future, we won't use resumes as much, and we're going to start having online portfolios, right, that show our work history, but also our work product, the sort of the whole person that you are. And LinkedIn is like maybe the baby steps to that. And that's why it's really important to learn how to use something like LinkedIn, because it's not just to get a job. It's not just to say, I'm on LinkedIn because my CDO office or my firm made me. It's to show who you are. And so your online persona is all the things that I shared earlier, like with the specific posts that you can make, but it's also the things you comment on, the things you like Angie was talking about. And you don't have to feel the need to pigeonhole yourself into being just a law student or just a lawyer or just someone who cares about the law. Like, you as a person, you didn't wake up as a child thinking, I want to practice corporate transactions and intellectual property. Like, no one woke up thinking that, right? Like, you have your own personality. And so engage with the things outside of law that you're interested in. If it's business, real estate, medicine, like whatever it may be, art, like you have free roam to do that. You don't have to block or to hide those pieces of yourself simply because you're in law school. It's those things that show who you are authentically. And I think it'll also help you to network and build relationships more genuinely, because you realize, like, I'm talking to this other lawyer, but we are both not just a sum total of being a lawyer. We are whole human beings.
Yeah, and I think that when you post content, you don't have to worry about being an expert in anything.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be an expert in anything. I think the most genuine content that people share is when they're learning about something or they're sharing something vulnerable about themselves. Those are the posts that people care about. You know, you can talk about your journey as you apply to law school, the things that you're struggling with, the questions that you have, you know, especially during these trying times. So you totally don't need to worry about, oh, I don't have enough credentials to be posting on LinkedIn. That's totally not true. I think that the most engaging content is the most authentic content.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, definitely if you connect with a lawyer on LinkedIn and have a conversation with them and you thought it was really helpful and you learn a whole bunch of things, write a LinkedIn post about it and be like, I had this great conversation today with a complete stranger. These are some of the things that I learned. And, you know, I think it just helps other people who are similarly situated to you to see like, oh, okay, if this person's brave enough to go and engage a stranger, maybe I can be brave enough, you know? So I think a lot of the things that you share on LinkedIn can be something about you learning something. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm an expert in, you know, securities law and I'm writing a presentation today. You know, like it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
So.
And even, I guess to go further on that aspect of learning, I don't think people realize how powerful of a tool LinkedIn is, right? There's LinkedIn Learning, and last week I saw something about them giving everyone free access to LinkedIn Learning. I don't know if that's still like available. You'd have to double check that, but LinkedIn Learning is a whole other course learning platform. So you can learn anything on there, from photography and Adobe Illustrator to AutoCAD. Like it's really crazy. You can
Yeah, it's just
follow,
like Coursera. It's super
yeah,
robust.
exactly. And that's on the LinkedIn platform. You know, you can follow certain influencers, attorneys, thought leaders, companies, schools, see their posts. You can literally curate your timeline to follow a variety of people in a variety of industries, to know different trends, to see the major players seizing opportunities. LinkedIn has a news portion, not just things about like COVID-19, but like business news, legal news. You can join LinkedIn groups like Angie talked about. They have groups on everything from engineering to women in law. There's a lot of articles on LinkedIn. You can use a search function. Like if you are interested in intellectual property, you can type in intellectual property in the search bar, click content, and it will show every post that has mentioned, you know, the keyword intellectual property. Like you can follow hashtags. So there's just so much, there's a wealth of knowledge on LinkedIn, and you would be doing yourself a disservice to only think, okay, I have to have a LinkedIn to look really smart, or I have to have a LinkedIn to show that I'm an expert on these things. Like you can learn a lot from it. You can engage with ideas. I even love that you can react to posts now. It's not just liking, you can celebrate a post, you can find something engaging or insightful. And so you can learn a lot on LinkedIn, and that's something I really like about that.
And don't be afraid to comment on posts of people that are much more experienced than you. I feel like I have like a million LinkedIn mentors, but no, seriously, people that I'm like, oh my gosh, that post is amazing. The things that they're doing are amazing. And, you know, I comment on strangers' posts all the time. And, you know, oftentimes that'll make them engage with you. And, you know, especially law students. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many of my friends who are lawyers, other lawyers that I know, who really, I mean, we have a lot of compassion for law students and people who are applying to law school right now because we know how hard that all is. And they just want to help you. So if you post something and, you know, I mean, I think a lot of lawyers would want to engage with you. So, you know, don't be afraid to go ahead and comment on people's posts that you don't know. LinkedIn has really, I don't know, it's really changed the way that people think about connecting with strangers professionally online. As long as you're talking within the same, you know, ballpark of topic, I think that people are a lot more willing to engage with strangers on that topic. Now, if you come out of left field on a, you know, and comment something that makes no sense and is not relevant to the topic that people are posting about, then don't be surprised if people don't like that. But as long as you're trying to stay pretty on message, then you should be fine. I think, you know, you should definitely be looking at LinkedIn as a tool for all those different things that Stephanie mentioned. Don't just have a LinkedIn page out there just to get a job. I think a lot of people thought of LinkedIn as almost like a Indeed or like Monster for a little while there. If you guys remember Monster, I don't think anybody uses that anymore, but anyway. So, but I think a lot of people just thought like, oh, Indeed, LinkedIn is a career website, and people only post up information when they need to get a job, and that's totally not true. It's become this new content creation monster where a lot of people are, sharing content, creating content, learning these things together. The way that LinkedIn works is just so fascinating. Read a few things about the LinkedIn algorithms and how it promotes content and shares content. It is fascinating. So learn how these things work. It'll be so helpful to you because you know what? Lawyers are trying to figure this out at the same time as you. And if you know something about social media that you can share with lawyers, it might give you one more thing that you can add value to them if they decide to hire you as an intern or something like that. You might really want to think about, okay, if I know a lot about social media, even if I don't know about a lot about the law, I can teach them about social media while they teach me about the law. And it's a good exchange. You're providing value to other people. So think about all those ways that you can use LinkedIn to engage.
I also wanted to mention that it's also a really great way to just stand out generally as a candidate, because you'd be surprised, like a lot of my classmates sort of, they look at me and they're just like, what are you? Like, where did you come from? But it's like, no one is using, people are slowly getting on board to like what LinkedIn can be. If you think what I'm trying to say is that a lot of people don't use LinkedIn specifically in the legal profession, or they just use it to like for the sake of just having it, so that when a client looks them up, they can see, and all the posts they have are just directly related to their firm. It's like some boring article giving guidance about something, right? Like there's no personality. You don't really have an understanding of who they are, or maybe their LinkedIn profile is not an accurate reflection of their whole person. And so if you can get on board, if you can start posting, if you can start engaging, if you can start reaching out to people, I promise you, like you have access to people that you may have never had access to before, not only because you are on LinkedIn, but also because you're a student or you are looking to get into law school. And so keep that in mind, and realizing that like you're already unique in all of the things that you bring to the table. And so if you can show that, if you can just also bring that to the online table, you may be surprised how things work out, because there's a lot of lawyers who very much pay attention to LinkedIn, but they may not post as much, but they're seeing they're seeing the way that you're engaging, you're thinking, and that can go a long way. And you never know how, where that could take you.
Perfect. This has been awesome. Do we have any questions in the audience? You guys want to go ahead and start chiming in? I think we can probably shift to the Q&A part. Mm-hmm. So feel free to turn on your videos, engage. I'll take us off of the host thing. So I think it'll start shifting us. I think now whenever somebody else starts speaking, it'll shift to that person. So
not all at once. And it can be specific questions about, even creating your profile. Nothing is off limits per se. We're here for you all and to help you level up with Leg Up Legal. Get a leg.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I just have a quick question. So I just not recently, but about a year and a half ago, created LinkedIn, and I was really and I since then have added more internship and more experience related to my career, being law and doing actual, experience. As in previously, I've only had worked like serving jobs, cashier. A lot of stuff on my LinkedIn was just jobs that I needed to pay bills. Should I still keep them in there, or just to show a track record of me having been working since I was 16 years old, or should I just maybe leave the important internships and jobs that I've had thus far?
I would say you can go ahead and keep that on there, because the customer service industry, being a lawyer is like customer service work, like you are servicing. And so having that experience and showing people, look, like I've worked in fast-paced environments where there's a lot of pressure, where I'm interacting with people from, different sort of backgrounds, that's really valuable. And it's not something that should be discounted just because it's not as flashy as being a lawyer, and after time, maybe if you continue to rack up, a lot of internships and legal experience, you can take those things off your profile, but that doesn't, it's just up to you. I wouldn't tell you to remove it because it doesn't look good. I think it shows the whole you and your experience.
Well, and I would say if you're going to have that kind of experience on there, you can be creative about your LinkedIn descriptions. It's not a resume. You don't have to put, the bullets of exactly what you did in the job. Put the stuff that matters. If you worked, in fast food and you were doing 30 hours a week while going to school and doing all these other things, you can put that in that description and just say, worked 30 hours a week while attending college and, doing and volunteering 50 hours a week. I think that it gives people context into hey, I'm a hard worker. I managed to do this job on the side of doing all these other things too. So you can be creative and put whatever you like there. Nobody's grading you.
Yeah. And you can also, one thing I like about the descriptions is that you can add pictures. And so if you have pictures from the time that you worked there, add those. If it's of you and your team, or of you holding up an accomplishment or something, those things make your profile more robust in terms of seeing a whole persona of you and the things that you did. So don't be afraid to do that.
Oh, and one trend that I've started seeing from students, which I think is awesome, is that when people do an internship, think about what do you want to include in the wrap up post about your internship. And, basically, you can write this little article that says, I did an internship with XYZ law firm. These are the types of projects that I got to work on, and these are the things that I learned about my experience. And, people love to read that content about what are you actually doing at these jobs. It gives you a lot more background and a clear picture of what you're actually learning there than just seeing a few bullets on your job description area. And then you can provide a link to that article in the job description area so that people can really see more of what you're doing in these places. And I think that might actually show your skills that you're learning a lot more effectively as well. So.
Yeah. There's a question in here from Cynthia, and she asked, how do you get around having to purchase a plan on LinkedIn in order to send messages?
You want to handle that, or I can handle it?
You can go first and I'll add.
Okay. So you can usually message people, and when you ask to connect with them, you can include a tiny little message, and try to use, enough information about why you're trying to connect with them in order to entice them to connect. And then once you do connect with somebody, you can actually message them, I think, freely. So, it should all just be about trying to send that initial connection invite. One thing I know is a little strange is that you're not able to connect with every single person in LinkedIn. It has to be in your network, which is even more incentive for you to start engaging with other people, because then it'll make, if your connection is connected to somebody else and you're a second connection, then it'll make it easier for you to actually connect with that person. I don't know if any of that made sense, but yeah, so if you look when you try to look up a contact on LinkedIn, you'll see first, second, third by their name. And that means how many people removed are they from you? How many of your own connections know those people? And so if they're a first connection, it means both of you share a common connection. Or actually, no, first connection means you're connected to them. Second connection means that you guys share one common connection. And then third connection is when you know somebody that knows somebody that knows them. So I think you do have to play around with those. Sometimes you might have to get an introduction from somebody, to get closer to another person. But.
Sometimes, Cynthia, you have to, if you're on your computer, you have to click the three dots that are next to connect, and then it will say add a personalized invite or something like that. So that might be one reason why you weren't able to send a message, but you can always click it and add a personal message. So I hope that helps. Does anyone else have other questions that they were thinking about in terms of using LinkedIn?
Hi, I have a question. So I feel like there's been a lot, like since the coronavirus has happened, there's been a lot of people saying like now is a great time to do like an informational interview with someone in the field you want to work with. But I'm kind of wondering like, how would I reach out to set up an informational interview without sounding kind of robotic? And like, since I haven't even applied to law school yet. Like I'm a graduated like student, but I don't really have anything to offer like a lawyer in terms of knowledge or anything. So
No, you shouldn't think about it that way. I mean, so like lawyers, we genuinely do want to help people. I promise you. We're not just like evil people that want to ignore everybody around us. So just, I mean, when you message them, just genuinely say, hi, my name is Robin. I'm interested in applying to law school. I've been thinking about it, but I've been hearing all these things about how law school admissions is kind of crazy right now, and I'm not applying yet. But I'm really just starting to learn more about the law and different areas of law, and I'd really just love to talk to you about your career path. Something like that, where you're just trying to engage with them to learn more about how did they get to be who they are. We don't expect anything from you guys. We don't. Like when a student reaches out to me, I don't expect them to be writing articles for me on trademark law. Like I don't ask for any of that. I think, all we want is to see that you're genuinely interested in learning about who we are and that you're not just hitting us up for a job. Like that is the scariest thing for most lawyers, is that most of us don't have jobs to give you right now. So I think if you're just connecting with somebody and you're like, do you have a job? No, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Then they won't engage with you. So but if you ask something like that, like, oh, I'm starting to try to learn a little bit more about law. I'd love to hear more about your practice area and, what you do on a daily basis. Would you be willing to set up a Zoom chat with me or, a 30-minute call so I could ask you some questions? Like, I really don't know any lawyers that would say no.
Okay. Thank you.
But Stephanie, you go ahead and answer too, because Stephanie is a master networker. She knows like everybody. So
Like still figuring things out, but it's funny because sometimes I still feel like when I'm reaching out to attorneys to learn something, I still feel like, oh my gosh, little me, like what am I supposed to give to them? And I think a lot of students do feel that way. But something that I've noticed is that as lawyers sort of advance in their career, they're not, they may have written 50 law review articles. They may have gotten like billions of dollars in like settlement cases, but none of that is as fulfilling as being able to impact your community, as being able to help other people. And so most lawyers, like a lot of law students don't really reach out to lawyers. So the students that do, they're like, yes, I want to help you. Like, what is it that you need? Like, I'm ready to connect you to? And once I figured that out, I was like, wait a minute. So you guys have been, like I'm still rewiring a lot of my thinking towards that. And so don't be afraid and don't feel like, man, I'm just a law student. I'm just a student. I'm just a grad. Like you are not just there. Like remove the just. You are who you are. You are in the season that you're in, and you are looking to going to law school, or you're in law school. You want to be an attorney, and that's more than enough. And people have a lot of their experiences to share with them, and that's what they want to impart to you. So it's not just you're not being like a parasite, taking anything from them and not giving something in return.
And if I can say one good thing that's come out of coronavirus, I know there's been a whole bunch of bad things that came out of it, but one good thing is that I feel like people have much more empathy and compassion for strangers right now. They are more willing to connect with people that they don't know to help. And so I think lawyers, for sure, I've seen a lot of the lawyers that I know kind of break down some of those barriers, and they're more willing to connect online with strangers. And if you have ever been wondering, like, how is it that people are in the right place at the right time? You right now are in the right place at the right time. You're trying to think about going to law school during a time when people are more comfortable with connecting with strangers online. When I was trying to go to law school in 2010, when I was applying, I didn't know anything about learning the law. I didn't know anything about how to, get into law school or anything like that. So I started cold calling lawyers. This was before LinkedIn. And I literally had to flip open a phone book and I called over 50 lawyers. And this was, no, I'm not kidding you. Like, this is a time that secretaries were answering phones, most lawyers weren't answering phones, and I couldn't even get to the lawyer most of the time. And so after 50 cold calls, I only connected with 3 lawyers. And, and then one of those lawyers actually took an interest in me, and he was exactly like Stephanie said, he wanted to help. And I think all it takes is that one person. You just need one person to care about you, and they will help connect you to other people. And then those people will help connect you to other people. This one lawyer that I knew, he was like a networking genius, and he connected me to so many people. And the other great thing about that was he had so much social capital. He was just one of these people that always, gave things to other people. So everybody loved him. So when he introduced me to somebody else, they always wanted to help me because they were like, oh, John, I want to do everything I can to help you. So, all it takes is, as you're building your network, try to think of how you can connect people in your network to other people. Even if you don't have anything, you think you don't have anything to offer them, but that's not true at all. I was just talking to a mentee about this yesterday, and she is also in the process of thinking about applying to law school, but she's not applying yet. And I told her, no matter who you are, what stage in life you are, you could be a student, you could be a high school student, you could be anywhere in, at whatever phase, there's always certain things that you can give to people. So one of those things is appreciation. So lawyers love giving advice. We love it. That's all we do all day. And we love it when people take our advice. And then we also love it when that advice benefits them. So if you're connecting with these lawyers, one thing that you can do is just show your appreciation for the advice, but then follow up with them when you go and take the advice. So if that lawyer says, that you connect with says, oh, if you really want to learn about my practice area, go and check out, these articles, or go and join this club, or join this organization, or try this extracurricular activity out. You can say, okay. And then once you go and do those things, reconnect with that lawyer and say, hey, I took your advice. I decided to go look up this, article, or join this club, or do whatever. And this was my experience. And they're going to love that. I promise you. So that's one thing you can offer is appreciation and follow up, showing that you're following through, that you're taking the advice. The other thing that you can do is offer support. Ask that lawyer, hey, are you delivering any speeches or writing any articles or doing anything that I can help promote for you? You can share that content on LinkedIn. So kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So when you're connecting with these people, check to see, like, what are they up to? What are they doing? How can you help them, right? So you can offer that. You can also offer connections. So you are connecting with lots of other lawyers at the same time. If you're having conversations with these people and you're like, hey, their stories are pretty similar, and I kind of think that what they do is complementary, they might want to know each other. You could always offer an introduction. So you might connect them to somebody else who might get them business, or who might, get them a job, or who might get them a promotion later on down the line. You don't know. You really don't. I mean, it's all about relationship building. So you can offer connections, appreciation, follow through. There's so much that you have to offer. Don't think that you don't have anything to offer. Absolutely. No matter what stage of life that you're in, it's all about the mindset though. You have to be in that mindset to be a giver. Not a taker. When you're connecting with these people, don't be a taker. Be a giver. Try to think when you're in your conversation with that person, like, what are some things that I can do to give back to this person later on down the line? I think that that's kind of part of relationship building, is understanding that, it's not all about you taking, it's about, paying attention to their advice, telling them that you're listening to them, offering something back to them. I think that there's so many people that connect with me that, after they talk to me, they never follow up with me ever again, and I'm like, I wonder what happened to that person. I wish they would contact me and let me know, did they like my advice? Did it help? Did it not help? I mean, use these opportunities when you're connecting with people on the internet. If you're doing meetups or, virtual meetups like this one, connect with the speakers afterwards, talk to them. There's a lot of opportunities right now for you to be connecting with strangers and with lawyers. So take advantage of that.
That was fantastic advice, Angie. Really great stuff. And I feel I wanted to add one more thing is that a lot of questions I guess before I add anything, does someone have any questions before I speak?
Yes, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a prospective law student. I was in the middle of getting ready to take the test, but then
Crystal, your audio is cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, I think the connection might be bad on your side, Crystal.
Well,
Sorry, we couldn't hear your question. Can you just type it in the chat box?
I think we.
Oh, she might have gotten disconnected. Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry. One sec. Crystal, you still there? Oh, she dropped. Okay, well, maybe she'll jump back in. Sorry.
Did someone else have another question in the meantime?
Hi, I'm Ashley. I have a question about you mentioned and like the anticipate, like we could post about things that we're anticipating on LinkedIn, and that just made me think about, like, I haven't posted on LinkedIn yet, and it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing for me, but I'm planning to soon. But you mentioned like posting things that you're anticipating, and I'm anticipating an internship this summer, but it's not directly connected to law or like what my passions are about. So I was thinking like how much my profile has to be kind of coherent in that aspect. Like, yeah, that was it.
Andrew, do you want to go?
Yeah, you can take this one, and then I'll answer after you.
I was just gonna say it doesn't like sort of what I was alluding to before. When someone looks at your profile, if they see that you are a prospective law student or a JD candidate or an attorney, that's not all of who you are, right? And so you can share the other things that you're doing, because whatever internship that you have this summer, you're going to have a lot of transferable skills to both law school and to your future internships and your future job as an attorney. So all of these sort of experiences make you a better attorney. So they don't have to be directly related to the law or a judge. If it's an internship, that's a great thing to celebrate. You can share about that, what you're looking forward to. And maybe even if you want to connect it to law, you can say, I think I'm going to learn this skill, how to be more confident and speak up for myself. And that'll help me in law school or something down the road. So it doesn't have to be coherent per se. It's coherent because it's you. You make yours. I'll just stop there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it has to, be law related at all. You just post about it. Yeah, totally. Talk about, that you're going to be joining this this organization and you're super excited to learn about, XYZ. And then afterwards, write another post when the internship ends about what you learned. Here. Crystal, I think you're back. So I'm gonna
yes, the internet.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, we can hear you now.
From home and then slow. Everything is slow right now on the computers. But yeah, that was my question. Do admission counselors even look at your LinkedIn profile? Do I need to tie whatever is written in my personal statement and law resume into like a summary or my LinkedIn profile?
That's a good question. I haven't heard of any law school admissions folks like looking for LinkedIn for admissions purposes. I think they do kind of generally check you out on social media for the most part, just to make sure you're not posting anything super crazy. But I don't think it's a big deal if your LinkedIn doesn't, necessarily project like you're going to law school. But what I suggest to a lot of people who are applying to law school is to still put in their about section, I'm, an aspiring law student or applying to law school, and I'd love to connect with lawyers, in the about section, so that you can so that you're engaging people, in towards the career path that you're going to. So, but I don't think it's terribly important to be, to make sure that it matches up your personal statement or anything like that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And regardless of whether you went to law school straight from college or you took some time off and worked, law schools usually focus more on your like networking and persona once you actually get into law school. And so if you don't necessarily have a LinkedIn right now, or if your LinkedIn is not as like robust or put together as you want it to be, I don't think that would make them, it wouldn't be like a mark it down on like, oh, she's not good enough to get into our law school sort of thing.
Okay, that's what I was concerned about because I'm an introvert and I do not post often on social media. So yeah, thank you.
You know, I think that's an interesting thing to say, though, about being an introvert, because I find that a lot of people who are introverted in real life are way more active on social media.
Really?
Yeah, you know, so like my friends who are attorneys that are like rocking it on LinkedIn right now, crazy enough, in real life, they're my introverts. So like, I'm like, man, you are really driving this engagement, and it's really cool to see that. So
maybe I'll blossom into that introvert because the information you guys have provided has been very useful. I've already learned tons. So
I feel like what's really cool about LinkedIn is that it, you know, in a way you're projecting something out in the world and then, you know, they're giving back to you, but it's not instantaneous, right? It's not direct messaging. It's not, you know, you're engaging with live conversations online. So I do think it's actually well suited to introverts, much more so than, you know, engaging if you go to like a networking event or anything. Like networking events for lawyers can be very intimidating and they can just be very overwhelming for introverts. And I totally get that. But I feel like LinkedIn is beautiful for introverts. You know, there's so many ways that you can engage on LinkedIn without, you know, that like being inundated by, you know, social interaction. Like, so I don't think that, you know, it'll necessarily weigh on you the same way as social interaction live. But.
Okay, thank you.
That's my 2 cents. I don't know. What is your thoughts, Stephanie?
No, I completely agree. Real life networking events for lawyers are they're just so robotic, sometimes unnatural, awkward, and you're just like, what am I doing here? So LinkedIn is a really great way to sort of, you know, network at a distance, but also have like everything that you want on there and stay in that bubble in a way. So
yeah. But now I have to make my shameless plug. For all you extroverts out there where you're like dying from like not having social interaction right now, we're doing this virtual networking event tomorrow. It's like a virtual happy hour. And we're going to throw you into random rooms, breakout rooms with another person. So it's just going to be one-on-one where you get to meet somebody who's either a lawyer, another law student, or a prospective law student. And you guys get to ask these questions. We have a couple questions that you can, you know, go off of, but you can also ask whatever you want. So it's going to be 30 minutes in the main room where we're all just going to be doing introductions. So you get to see who are all the other people on the call. And then for 30 minutes, you get to chat with your new buddy. So yeah, come and join. I think it'll be fun. It's the first time we're trying this, so bear with me. If it's a total psychotic show, then, you know, sorry, but we'll try it, okay?
Can you post a registration link in the chat?
Yeah. That's a great idea. Let me post that one.
Did you have a question?
Who? Who are you asking, Stephanie?
Nimish, is that how you pronounce your name?
Oh, Nimesh. Oh, yeah. Hi, Nimesh. How are you?
Good. How are you? This is my last final, so I'm done.
Yeah, finishing law school. Woo!
Yeah. Now I have to register for the bar, which I haven't done.
Good luck. Which bar are you taking?
Probably California, since it's online and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to leave the house.
Yeah.
I was gonna take Texas, but they're still gonna have it in July, and I don't feel like being around like 1,000 people in the middle of July. I'm just gonna take I think California is probably the best bet because it's online, and I feel like if I get barred in California, I could probably just wave in pretty much anywhere else.
Does Cali also do UBE or no?
No, they're not. I don't think they're ever gonna be UBE state. They're too stubborn. But We'll see.
Well, I mean, when UVE started, it was like the coalition of states nobody wanted to practice in. It was like the 13 original colonies. It was like part of the UVE minus New York. So then like nobody even wanted to do it because New York wasn't a part of it. But I think it's actually gained a lot of traction.
It has. I mean, Texas is joining next year, so I thought about taking one of the UVE exams and just transferring, but now I don't really know. So I figured if I just take California and pass, I can probably easily get a job in California because that's where a lot of the privacy work is, and that's what I want to do. So
Remind me, which school are you at again?
I'm at Emory Law.
Okay, awesome.
Well, good luck studying. I know it's a stressful time right now, but I'm sure
It is, but I mean, being inside, I don't really have a huge problem because I'm kind of introverted, like you guys were talking about earlier. So not that I'm not.
It always blows me away when I meet introverted people pursuing the law because I'm like, tell me all about this. What's it like? So
it's pretty easy for me to just be inside, and I have my dog, so I'm not that bored.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a bearded collie. He's right here. I'll drag him
There
in.
you go.
Oh, this is Ted.
Aw, see, I can't have my dogs up here because they're totally insane. I have 2 corgis, and it's total madness when they come up here.
He'll try and he'll be.
Do we have any other questions? I know we're at 1:05, so you guys feel free to drop off if you want. Now it's just turned into the dog hour. But feel free to, chime in with your questions about LinkedIn if you have any.
Can I ask just one last question before we all go?
Of course.
So I haven't really done any posts. Is now a good time? Is it okay to do a reflective post of something that I did like in the fall or like I've done it in the past, like a while back? Is there like a timeline or a statute of limitations on my post?
Oh, that is such a pre-law student question, or a law student question. No, there's no statute of limitations. I think Stephanie mentioned this earlier. It can be as far back as you want it to be. I think contemporaneous posts are better because you probably remember it better fresh in your mind. But if it was a really valuable experience, feel free to talk about something that happened last semester. And everyone can be posting today because I did the work for you. I created a post for you, a graphic for you, everything. So everyone can do at least one reflective post today about going to this webinar.
Yeah. And Barbara, I remember, so I found some newsletter I wrote when I was like 12 years old and I shared it on LinkedIn. And so, I mean, that was several years ago. So it doesn't matter like from what time period it was from.
I think like a couple months ago, I shared like my actual personal statement when applying to law school, and it was like, and I got so many posts on that. But I think, you can share stuff from whatever, as long as you think that people would find it valuable, So.
And
There's
also, I did want to. Oh, there's an.
Oh wait, no, okay.
One thing I did.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you can.
Oh, hi. Thank you for everything y'all been sharing. I've been really appreciating it. I wanted to ask, in regards to LinkedIn, like I know you have like skills quizzes and like certifications in terms of like licenses. Like during this period of Corona, do you feel as if that would be helpful as a law student, or I'm a prospective law student? So like, what would that do for your profile? Like, would that be helpful, you think, to have?
Are you specifically asking like about LinkedIn Learning or like other certifications?
Well, kind of both, like in terms of like how that would help your profile, or is that something that's just more for like a personal use in terms of like growing as a person?
Yeah, okay. So LinkedIn Learning has a bunch of certificate courses that you can take, which I think is fine. I think it's helpful for you to be posting about this information. I don't know if I would actually include it in your profile, but I would definitely write about it. So as you do, like if you do one of these courses, like do a little write-up post about, things that you learned in the course, and it'll kind of help show that you're staying contemporary with current issues and learning things, and you're not just wasting your time right now. I think that's really helpful. I saw somebody post the other day. So there's a whole bunch of legal practice skill platforms right now that are offering free training resources. So Hotshot Legal is one of them. I'll drop the links in a second. And then Alta Claro is another really great one. The Alta Claro founder is actually one of our startup advisors, and they offer a ton of great training products for law students. And I think Alta Clara is only open to law students, but Hotshot, I think you can sign up for no matter if you're a pre-law student or a law student. And they have so it's actual practice exercises. So like you're learning how to draft a non-disclosure agreement. Super helpful. Things like that. So like, I mean, I would totally write about those things. I saw there's another one, Inside Sherpa, that's now offering full practice simulations. Like you can learn how to do like an M&A deal from start to finish, and it's offered by, I think, White and Case, like one of the huge law firms. And those are all free right now. All of Inside Sherpa's virtual experiences are free right now, so take advantage of those. I'll drop the links below. Sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Stephanie's already doing. But yeah, so there is a ton of those that I think are super helpful. So here's my little spiel on legal education, okay? So law school is going to be a very academic type of exercise. You're going to learn a lot about, the theory of law and why, this principle exists or how these laws came to be about. Great. You're not going to learn very much about the actual practice of law unless you're doing like some extracurricular activities like a clinic or like an externship or stuff like that actually lets you practice. So for what that's worth, if you want to actually get practice skills while you're in law school, I would totally supplement your legal education with actual legal education like Alta Clara, Hotshot, or Inside Sherpa, because like learning how to do those, I think the other beautiful thing about those is I think some of those you get reviewed feedback by a real lawyer. So they're actually grading your like NDA agreement and you're learning how they would practice law. So that's absolutely invaluable. And then you have a writing sample. So a lot of times when you do internships and jobs while you're in law school, you can't use the written materials that you created because there's like a whole bunch of confidentiality issues if you're working for a real client. But for all of these simulation type things, you can use all of those materials as writing samples. So just a tip.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
And also I know there's algorithms on LinkedIn for like when you have skills on there, when you attach them to your profile or after you take a LinkedIn course that has a skill attached, it will automatically put it on your profile. So those are good things because I don't know, when recruiters are looking, depending on what industry you want to go into, your profile is more likely to show up. So if you do something that you're proud of, if you have a certification, feel free to put that on there. But it may even be more helpful, like Angie said, to make a post about it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I shared some of the links, but Angie, maybe if you had other links you wanted to share, that would be great.
Oh yeah, you got Hotshot and like, okay, let me do Alta Clara.
Yeah, I took Alta Clara last year. I didn't finish the course, but it was really great. I did like doing it.
Oh wait, I wanted to post it to everybody. Hold on. Meeting. So yeah, and have you done any of Hotshot's exercises, Stephanie?
No, not yet. He just released, I just found out about it like a day or two ago, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, I just saw him post about it yesterday, but I think they had always offered a free trial on one of their classes. But yeah, I was just curious to see how you thought it lined up with Alta Clara, if they were similar or different.
Yeah, I plan to check it out, but those things are really great, like in interviews or when you're talking to lawyers, like saying like, hey, I'm not just saying I'm interested in mergers and acquisitions. I've actually taken classes and courses on this to show. So would highly recommend that.
Yeah. And you can talk about those experiences as much as you want in interviews. You can mention like, oh yeah, these were the types of exercises we went through. We learned how to, do due diligence. We learned how to draft an NDA. We learned how to do all these different things. And I think that really shows like your practice skills. Employers love that.
Exactly. And
any other questions, folks?
Angie, can you resend the graphic and?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I got disconnected, my chat got erased. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Post.
Is there a way for me to? I sent you the presentation. So do the attendees of the webinar get the presentation again?
Yeah, so I just, I usually send out an email afterwards with the recording, and then I'll attach anything that people need to that, so I can do that.
Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and if you want to wait until, I usually try to post the recordings within the same 24 hours afterwards. If you want to wait and just drop a link to the recording so that people can actually watch it, then that way it'll automatically pop up with whatever graphic that I put on the recording.
That works.
And anybody else had questions? No? Okay, well, I hope you guys all join us for the virtual happy hour tomorrow. I think it's going to be really, really fun. We have a bunch of lawyers signed up right now. Actually, I have a bunch of lawyers, and I don't have enough like students and prospective students, so you guys like join.
Do I still count as a student now that I'm done?
Yes, you kind of still count as a student until you're barred. You're still going to count as basically a student. So, all right. So yeah, invite other people, share the happy hour on LinkedIn with other people so that we can get a lot of folks in there. Our limit is like 100, and I think we only have like 40 registrants. So I'd love to get as many people as possible. It'll be really fun. I'm going to have people take like little selfies with their buddy, and it'll be great. All right. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Feel free to reach out
Thank
if
you
you
so
guys
much,
have any more
Jesse.
questions. Yeah, this was my pleasure. Feel free to reach out if you have any more questions or just want to follow up with me afterwards.
And check out Vladimir.
Yeah.